So good to see everybody here today. Now I hear a sound. Okay, we got to get everybody in here. All right. It's so strange to have most people just sitting there with the black screens. I like to see faces pop up. That makes it lots more entertaining and fun. So this week, we on our series of Strengthening Your Health Foundation, we're going to look at brain health. And this is, I think, a very important subject to be looking at, because if there's one thing we cannot control, it has to do with us aging. Every day we're going to, oh great, everyone's jumping on. Each day, regardless, we're going to move forwards in aging, and it, like I said, it is out of our control. And so looking at how we can strengthen our foundation, oh my goodness, we are having issues here today. Let's stop this one more time. We were trying to help Vi get on, and it's done some interesting things here today. There we go. We'll just leave it like that. I won't play with it. So, like I was saying, in our Strengthening Our Health Foundation, looking at our brain health is very important. So many people want to come in and just target specifically. What can I do for my brain? What can I do for my brain? Because, like I was saying, we keep aging. That's something that we cannot change and control, no matter what we're going to be moving forwards. So when we look at our foundation, as we've talked about a lot, the basics that we can do to support, I also want to look at what can we do specifically maybe to target the brain, because of how involved, there we go, it is with everyday life. And I thought it might be good to start with some basics. For instance, understanding just how many different things the brain does. I mean, we all think about it like, when we're in school or we're being asked a question, or like Valerie right now dealing with the slideshow and trying to deal with sharing screens, which we get challenged with this every day, but the brain does so many different things. And it really is about more than just being able to think. If you look over here, we've got parts where it's talking about how it ties in with your vision, how it ties in with basic movement, so spatial orientation, speech. I know it was interesting when I started learning a third language, how all of a sudden all these different things start happening in my brain. And, I was dreaming in German, trying to get to Spanish, but then but English was popping up. And the brain is just involved with so much. We talk about head and eye movements. And there was a neat study that was done in 2018 where they were looking at evaluating the value of water as to the brain. And they had different statistics that I've seen floating around. So I put in there that they're saying anywhere from 75 to 85% of the brain is water-based. So I like to always give people something that they can control just right there without having to do any major, no purchases, no anything. Just get in there in their lifestyle. Well, water gives your brain the electrical energy for your brain functions. And what was interesting to me, and I saw this a lot with my grandmother, because whenever we moved here into Kansas, she was 89 years old, very, very, astute brain, and her memory and everything that had to do with history of the area was impeccable. On no medications, she didn't drink pop during this, but as she aged, I became aware that she drank less and less water. And I found out through different studies that you start to lose your sense of thirst. So those points when my grandmother, who by the way didn't pass till she was 101, but with those points where she couldn't remember so well, I always knew she wasn't drinking enough water. And so that's what I would do, is get her to get in and drink some water, and her brain would pop back on. So why is this important? It's important because we know that water is going to impact everything in the body. And one of the reasons we now have proof of that is if water affects the brain, and the brain is primarily made of water, look at all the different things the brain controls. That helps us to understand why it becomes so important. So when people like myself are constantly telling people, let's drink more water, and they're like, oh yeah, she's giving me the water speech again, there really is a reason for it, and it is very important. And again, a simple change that can have big impact. And so as always, we are going to look at why I am so excited and always and have navigated so much now towards everybody's programs are being combined. Their foundation is all being built off of the Soul Naturals products. And why is that? It's because I have learned the value of the adaptogens that are in these products. These adaptogens are so powerful, and the fact that they are non-toxic by definition is huge. Therefore, I can use a couple products and get much larger and bigger scale results than I did when I was using multiple products. And that's exciting to me because I always want to use the least amount to get the biggest benefit. Hence the reason I also talked about water, because water is going to take these adaptogens and even make them more powerful and enhance them, get the results that we're all looking for. So as we move along, I have asked Greg Holliday, who's founder and president of Soul Naturals, to talk to us about a particular mushroom called lion's mane and what it has to do with cognitive function with the brain. So with that, I would like to welcome Greg Holliday.
Thank you, Valerie. Good to be here with everyone this evening. And I just love to learn. I always learn tidbits from Valerie every time. So I'm sitting here thinking about what you were talking about, Valerie. But I think one of the reasons Soul products, about half of them are in drink form, is we kind of echo what Valerie teaches. we don't tend to drink enough water in our society. Almost any of us, we sort of have to train ourselves to do that, but we can do that. And the thing that I wanted to talk about today, I'll just share a slide or two, and then it'll pop back to you, Valerie. Comes from a presentation from Dr. Allison Caldwell-Andrews. If I can find it here. Is that showing yet? Are you seeing the mushroom book?
Yes.
Okay. So I think maybe most everybody knows that a book was written about a year ago by Dr. Allison. And I love it because it's one of those rare books that is an easy read, but it's still packed with information, and it's kind of a life changer. Maybe that's why it's a life changer, because it's not a hard read, and I think everybody should read it. Just take a couple hours and go through it. And so the slides that I had today on lion's mane come right from her book. And she kind of starts with lion's mane. In one of the products of Soul, the Neuro, which has a number of adaptogens, as Valerie mentioned, because a number of them are mushrooms. The primary, I would say the primary mushroom in the formula is lion's mane. Even though there are several in there that have really a generous amount, we try to make lion's mane sort of the king of the jungle in this formula. And because there's so much wonderful research, and lion's mane is probably an adaptogen. It's not necessarily put on all the lists, but everything we know about it looks just like an adaptogen. And like Valerie said, adaptogens are interesting because the way I like to say it is you can use the quantity you need, meaning they're safe to take in whatever amount. So I can increase the amounts until I get the results I'm looking for and not worry about that. Lion's mane it's been part of a lot of studies, and really all these little bullet points tonight are a summary of studies that Dr. Allison included in the book. There's lots more, but these are some of those that caught her eye that hopefully will get us thinking. And we should always think about ourselves, and because like Valerie said, it's necessary for all of us. The environment, the world we live in, the nutrition that is missing in foods we commonly eat, and then I would say just the effects of the environment, both from a stress point of view, purely a stress point of view, both good and bad, but also, let's say, environmental conditions, what we drink and eat and what we have to breathe. And even though there's plenty of beauty out there and plenty of good out there, there's also the other that we need to address with nutrition. It can make such a difference. Well, lion's mane is one of those that shows a really direct result on the balance of the brain. And I think that's why Valerie wanted to feature it today. One of the studies, you can see the top, a mild cognitive impairment. So not super serious, but people that started to see signs, they saw reversals with lion's mane. Nerve cells functioning properly. Didn't used to be believed very widely that nerve cells could repair, regenerate. Now we know better. And lion's mane actually helps in that process. Some of the conditions that contribute to cognitive imbalances like Alzheimer's, lion's mane actually pushes on the other side of balance and destroys some of the inflammatory plaques that get in the way and that cause some of these problems. So that's another study that was cited in the book. Another study dealt with Parkinson's and oxidative stress and how that was lowered with lion's mane. Right together with all of that was our emotional reaction. Whatever the stressors are in our life that might lead to depression, just feelings of depression or discouragement. I don't get too much into, too hung up anyway, on the title. I really don't like labeling people or even always conditions, but just knowing some of the sensation of it, some of the effects. I'm not afraid of those either. We all feel, we could all feel effects of depression. Lion's mane actually helps mitigate that. And the second one I loved was just that protective coating around the nerves, the myelin sheath. That's a biggie. I have a number of family members that suffer with MS. We don't know why. It was not in our family, and that's another story. And more recently has come into my extended family. So this is a big issue to us. And the general belief out there is that you can't remyelinate. Once it degenerates, you just manage it. Well, we're seeing otherwise with the right nutrition, right? Specifically with lion's mane. This is why I said lion's mane has a lot of properties of adaptogen. It will get in there and help balance blood sugars, blood lipids. So really all the different measures that you would tend to concentrate to say, I have healthy circulation or I have problems. I have imbalances. Problems are just imbalances, we believe. And when the body has what it needs, it seeks for that balanced state again, we believe. And so we can give it the raw material it needs and the chance, the nutrients and the chance, an opportunity to heal. Body tends to move toward the way it's supposed to function. And so things like the liver that have to make up for the harshness sometimes of the stress and the toxins, lion's mane actually has been shown to protect it from damage and to help it let's just call it regenerate and improve. So it's not a really surprise that if it reduces depression, it also improves anxiety. If it deals with inflammation of various sorts, that it's going to reduce pain. As one study's talked about neuropathic pain and a significant reduction in it. I always get excited when the studies show significant because they tend to understate everything. And then finally, look at that last one, inflammation in the pancreas and Crohn's. So different elements of digestion and absorption and elimination. All of those things, lion's mane really works throughout the body. And I believe part of the reason that you see such strong effects through digestion and intestinal health and the brain is that amazing connection between the two, and lion's mane traverses it. So we love lion's mane. It's sort of the number one in neuro IM, and it can make a big difference. There's a good amount. I can't remember the exact amount, but I'll tell you that it's not just powder. The lion's mane, it's a concentrated extract, not taking one or two active ingredients, but trying to take all of it as much as possible in an extract and concentrate all of it. And so you're really getting a significant dose. If you do the 2 capsules of Neuro, you're getting a lot of lion's mane. And lion's mane is something that can make a big difference. please don't think of it just as fixing problems, even though all these studies, because that's what they do, is they focus on that, and thank goodness, right? So people can know that there are solutions. But it's way better to think about it the way Valerie did. Look, life goes on, it's going to move on. We're going to want this. This is good to have in part of your nutrition now, and it's going to make it a lot more pliable for us to move back into balance when we get out of balance down the road, if we have lion's mane as part of a really good edible mushroom that happens to be really powerful to help us be where we want to be. So that's what I had to share, Val. I hope that was about right.
You did just perfect.
Awesome.
All right. So let's go back here to this. So as Greg was talking, there we go, talking about the Neuro, the lion's mane, there's multiple mushrooms that are in this blend. In fact, there's 10, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was interesting because I got so excited when we got this blend, having no idea how I would end up needing it so majorly this earlier part of this year. But the fact that I could get 10 mushrooms in here, it's such a great cost point, because I was looking at different places and seeing like a bag of lion's made by itself for like $26, and turkey tail, $26, all these different things. And I was like, oh my gosh, and we're getting all these right here like this, making it so available for people to use. And the mushrooms have just ended up being critical. And in fact, I'll go ahead and share, because I alluded to it. Everyone by this point is familiar with, some of what Troy went through earlier this year. And at one point in his recovery, he was shaking so extremely. It wasn't a minor tremor. It literally, his hands were moving about an inch at a time, and his whole body, just the nerves were trying to fix and repair. He couldn't fill out paperwork. I started the Neuro with him at a higher dose, and very quickly, something that they told him would take months to move through, he moved through in a period of weeks, and which was nice, because I got tired of filling out paperwork, and it was awesome because that meant he was doing better. So again, something that I already knew was benefiting me and menopausal brain and things like that was just such a godsend to have that available to us. So as always, we look at the disease tree, and I'm going to throw a couple different things out here tied to that Neuro. And of course, you saw the different benefits. But as we know, it's so important to come in at that foundational level and support those roots so that the body systems can function at their higher level, and thus reducing dis-ease and letting health show up. So we have seen that, I just talked to you about Troy with physical trauma, how that was working with him. For myself, it helped to move out old residue from a vaccine injury that I'd had in my early 20s. We've seen it address people with being able to deal with anxiety and depression. And so there's multiple things all coming in here at the roots, which is where I want to get in and feed, because again, the body makes no mistakes. Let's give it the right, proper foundation, and let's watch it blossom. So we've got two different stories that I wanted to be able to share today. And I'm going to check. We were trying to see if we could hear Vi a little bit earlier. Vi, can you say anything so we can see if we can hear you talk now? See, I wasn't certain. So are you there, Vi?
I'm trying to unmute her.
There you are.
She just unmuted. Do it one more time, Vi. It unmuted, and then I accidentally clicked and muted her. Since I'm a co-host and all.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Try whatever. Who did you click? Did you click her unmute, Valerie, or did Vi?
I think Vi did it.
Vi, if you can unmute again, I promise I won't mute you. We probably will be able to hear you if you'll click it. Oh, you just did it.
There, perfect. Okay, Vi, we are ready. Go for it.
You may not see me, but I'll talk anyway.
Awesome.
I started Neuro. It's been almost a year, not quite. I started August the 16th of 19, And I take 1 scoop every morning when I get up. And I'm perfectly happy with that. It has made a difference. I am not as moody as I was. I am eating more stuff that I hadn't eaten before, and I feel really good. I can't say everything. I have more energy. I'm usually in bed around 10, and I get up every morning at 6 o'clock and feel rested. And if I wake up earlier, I'll get up and start with my mushrooms. We'll put it that way. But they have been, I feel, very beneficial. They have supported my immune system, and I had not struggled with immune things right now. And I feel really, really good. I feel very fortunate to have been directed with this stuff and all the other stuff I'm taking from Saul. They all benefit me. Let's see. But I'm able to let go. Because when I
Why
go
do
to
you
bed at night,
you bind me saying Via's a retired nurse and it came to me originally with heavy metal poisoning. And that was how many years ago? Like 8 years, right when Soul came out.
Okay, I started with you in, I had that written down too, 2012, I believe.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of adjustments with everything. Up and down, up and down, up and down. Because some of you have known me for a lot of years and know what I was like. So this has all been a slow, gradual improvement because I was told to detox because I had silver fillings and it all went to my brain. And they wanted to do a chelation and that would have killed me. So we started that way back in 2012. It's very slow and it's been okay. It's taking time.
And now she's acting like a spring chicken.
Yeah. Sometimes I think clearly I might say, Mom, really? That's my son, which a lot of you know. But and I mean, I feel I've benefited really, really so much from everything. So, and this brain stuff really topped the cake.
Thank you so much,
Awesome.
dear. Thank you for sharing, Vi.
Or anything you can think of.
Well, you did great. If you think of anything else when we get done, we'll hang around a little bit and you can share a little bit.
Okay. Well, you didn't get to see me, but at least I got to talk. And I didn't stress out, but I was trying everything and so were you.
I love it. Thank you.
Okay,
So I do,
you guys.
I do know, and I do have here another neat testimony. Tammy is on the process of driving down, and when you come through the Flint Hills coming down here, you just don't get transmission. So she had sent out her testimony with the Neuro. She said her father was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. She says even though she didn't think it was a correct diagnosis, that's what was given. And they started with a couple of Neuro in the morning and at night. Said at first he said he didn't know if he could tell anything. After taking it, since it was released, he now asks for his brain pills. Also, at his last doctor's appointment, they told him he seemed to be doing much better. They said his memory issues seemed consistent with old age or slight dementia. She said, as a side note, he has a terrible diet, so she thinks it's amazing that he's seeing results. This type of results. So imagine how much more impressive it would be if he also addressed his lifestyle. And to me, that even shows even more the power of these products, that they can overcome lots of our shortcomings as an average human being. I mean, by nature, we don't want to have to change something if we don't have to. Let's be real. And so to have that type of result is really exciting. Man.
That's all.
So one of the things that I wanted to point out is we talked about the foundation, and we keep linking back to that Bella Health package, which we target in another video. But now you can look at having that basic going on to support the foundation, but think of it as a soul aid to add on, say you're having some challenges or want to be proactive and support your brain, then adding the NeuroAM in addition would be something that I would consider. This is a neat quote.
Oh, Valerie,
Yes.
I'm sorry. I just wanted, before you got too far ahead, you mind if I had one little testimonial?
Please, yes.
To those? Well, just adding it. You made me think of it, adding it to whatever your program is. So our son Ethan, who, as Valerie knows, because she's helped him quite a bit, he's dealt with Tourette's. And it's much better, much better than it was. It's probably 10% what it was, you know, when it was at his worst, which was so bad he didn't even want to go to school. And he specifically asks for NeuroAM. I was going to tell, he still drinks his Soul Balm every day. He loves the Soul Balm, which is just the 4 drinks. He puts all 4 drinks in there, and he does 2 Soul Megas at night, and he does 2 Adaptable. The one thing he's added to that program, he hasn't touched that for 3 years. The one thing he's added is NeuroAM, and he'll run out and say, "Dad, I'm out of it." That's, I can tell he never wants to take something if he doesn't feel it makes a difference. So I know if he keeps asking for it, it's making a difference for him. So he can't give you specifics, but I think it helps. It's helped him in school. He just feels better brain control. And those are my words, not his. He can't really describe it. He just feels better with it. So.
Oh, that's fantastic. I'm excited about that for him. Oh, outstanding. I love those kind of stories.
And he just does 2. He just does 2 a day. Yeah.
And that's the neat thing, is that we can, like I said, less is more, but yet if we need to use a little bit more, like I needed to for Troy, I have no concerns about, using more that could create an issue, because by definition, again, adaptogens are a non-toxic substance. So very exciting. There's a researcher by Michio Kaku, I'm probably butchering that name, tied with the brain. And I thought this was, we don't realize how powerful what is sitting up here on our shoulders. And his quote here: the human brain has 100 billion neurons. Each neuron is connected to 1 or 10,000 other neurons. Sitting on your shoulders is the most complicated object in the known universe. And so, people try to duplicate this with computers, all these different things, but yet we're talking, let's get a good foundation, let's add little mushrooms, and let's make sure we're getting lots of water. And we start watching, obviously, the brain start to fire better. That is so exciting to me. And so, again, like I said, I'm going to hang around and we can talk a little bit more and ask questions, but I'm wanting to make certain that people know that every Monday night at 6:30 Central Time is when I'm doing these 30-minute concentrated Zooms, and next week's topic will be the nervous system. And for me, of course, we're going to be looking about, talking about even a little bit with my personal story and dealing with adrenal fatigue and stuff. So again, nervous system at 6:30 next Monday night. So I'm going to try and get in this habit of giving everyone's a little bit of a heads up what next week's topic is going to be. So did anybody have any other stories or thoughts or anything they wanted to chat in? Because I know that the NeuroAM, when it came out the gate, was really well received and very quickly became our top selling product, didn't it?
I will add one thing. Can you hear me?
Yes, Vi, we can.
Of course, I couldn't think of everything. The one thing I noticed is the memory. This has made, I'll say, bad stuff leave. And now I'm able to deal with more good memories.
Oh,
so
good.
This has been very beneficial, because I dealt with a lot of family crises, and my dad, my mom, and my husband, and then some with Mike too. And so all of that has been in the past. I don't hardly think of it anymore. It's gone. I have let it go.
Awesome.
That's exciting. It's so powerful. Did anybody else have anything that they wanted to shout in or share regarding the NeuroAM? I know I've never been a person that liked mushrooms, so I'm pretty excited to be able to get them in a capsule and get benefit and receive the health benefits.
I think I did say 1 scoop. I meant 1 capsule.
That's all right. I knew exactly what you meant, my
And you
dear.
knew what I meant. See, I sometimes still get things mixed up.
So next time we have to get your video rolling so everyone can see just truly how truly
And I
amazing
was
you
all
are.
set up. I thought.
Well, if nobody has anything else to share, I thank you all for joining us, and I'm excited that to see people repeating and new people joining in. And I know that these are recorded each time, and I've been able to track, and we're getting a whole lot of views. People are coming back and watching and sharing this information. So thank you, everybody, for joining us, and we'll see you next Monday night at 6:30.
Good night.
Good night.